And guys,
Yeah, I just I think he's a big part of the success. They got a little bit of success right away. I think they were running Ferrari parts and engines and stuff like that. So they're not going to get the top tier of everything. But starting a team from scratch, I think he pretty much hired every single person on that F1 team. So to lose somebody that high up, yeah, I think it's gonna make a difference on the track. We'll see if they can do better this year. I'm not sure. It's probably gonna take a couple of years for whoever steps in next. I don't think they've announced anybody yet uh, to
I
come
don't think
in
they
and
have.
see results. Yeah.
I kind of wonder if like maybe Haas in general are feeling kind of the pressure since they're kind of seen as the American team, but then you have like Andretti trying to get its foot in the door to be like, hey, we're the premier American team. So I wonder if they feel like pressured to try to do something to make themselves more of the forefront as far as performance wise. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, it's a great point, man. I hope Andretti makes it in. I'd love to see it. They want in if the group will let them in, but again, building a team from scratch like that, they've been trying to get in for 4 or 5 years. I'd love to see Andretti in F1 again.
It'd be
yeah,
nice, especially with like some of the IndyCar drivers that are trying to funnel their way in, and there's like really talented IndyCar drivers that could excel in Formula One. So it'd be a nice opportunity to get those guys in there too.
Just not Marco, please. Not Marco.
You talking
yeah,
about SRX champion Marco Andretti?
That's right. I guess that's a good point. A little bit different cars from the SRX to the F1, but
yeah.
he does
Jason,
have
do
a
you have?
trophy.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead,
No, I'm
James.
sorry, Ant. I stepped on you, man. I apologize for that. I was just going to say, I guess you're right, Jason. He does have a trophy. I think that's one of the only trophies he's got, but that's a story for another day.
Yeah. Jason, do you have anything you'd like to share with the group?
Oh, I guess speaking of SRX, did you guys talk about them shutting it down, like or postponing it?
No, that happened after the podcast last week, so we didn't get to touch on that.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I wonder if the announcement of the IROC series kind of maybe they like lost some like major sponsorship or something. Because
Eh,
I don't see it coming back like after they postponed it.
No, I mean it's quite possible. I mean that they just don't start it back up again. That could have been the last season. Could have been the last of it we've seen.
I have a theory, and that's the Ray Evernham theory. It's Ray Evernham was running the SRX show as far as the cars, and he was pretty involved in the IROC when it was the Firebirds before they quit officially last time. So I think Ray Everingham, and I'm sorry I forget the other guy's name. I called him the other guy last week too. But Ray Evernham's run the SRX and now taking over IROC. I think they keep all the mechanics in the shop and the cars. They just try to figure out what platform they're going to use. But SRX was pretty much IROC series, just under a different name. And now they brought the naming rights. I think it's going to be the only significant difference. Maybe it opens it up to more tracks, not just Thursday night short tracks, which I thought was a really cool aspect of the SRX series was that they were at the short tracks and had drivers from all disciplines racing, and then a local guy from that local short track that did pretty good at a couple times. So
Yeah, that's what I liked about SRX. So I was kind of sad to see it postponed, is because it shined a light on like these small tracks that are really great, but they are more of like local famous rather than like getting any national attention. So I don't I wouldn't be surprised if, like IROC kind of did what it used to do back in like the '90s where they only went to like big tracks. But if they continue kind of doing the same thing as SRX, I guess it's kind of a wash.
Yeah. Um, it will be interesting. It's going to be an interesting season in racing, regardless. Um, all right, so I'm going to touch on something for my this week in motorsports.
Bring it on, Ant.
Ready.
So, the Roar before the 24 has come to a conclusion. As you guys can see on the screen there, Justin Thaler, one of our admins for the team, ran in one of the Roar races. Looks like he was in split number 8 of 35. Justin was able to bring home second in the TCR series, or the TCR vehicles. With the Roar closing, this means that the Daytona 24 is coming up next week, I believe. This upcoming weekend. So that's going to be interesting to see. Midwest Motorsports does have a team that's participating. Justin and a few of the other admins on the team are fielding a LMP 2, I believe. If anybody has not participated in the Daytona 24, grab some friends and run in it. It is a blast. And I tell you, there ain't nothing like waking up at 4 in the morning after a handful of hours of sleep just to get behind the wheel and run your stint. I did it last season, and it's as close as you can get to running one of those team events, and actually participating in it. So that's my this week in motorsports is the Roar conclusion and Justin Thaler's finish. James, I hear you got to watch that.
I did, man. Me and Steve Hansel were in the chat watching Justin on the live stream, man. And dude, he ran an awesome race. He stayed calm the whole time. I don't know if you've raced any multi-class racing on the Daytona Roval. Have you, Ant or Jason, done any, like, especially the slower class of the TCR? Have you done any of the multi-class racing on?
I I don't have like a ton of road experience, but I did like early on when I first started iRacing. I ran a little bit of what is it? The Production Cup is like the D license. It's like the kind of introductory to multi-class. I ran a Daytona session there one time, but I don't have a ton of experience. But I've definitely ran like a little bit of multi-class racing.
Have you done any multi-class, Ant?
Oh yeah. Over the past year or two, I've participated in a lot of IMSA and like I said, the Daytona 24 and such. I always hated being the slower car
Yeah.
and just hoping that the faster guy going around you would just be patient and not throw his car in there when it's like a really sketchy turn or something, because a lot of those guys, they don't care. They'll just flash your lights and send it. But yeah, I've done it, and it's humbling to be the slower car and have those guys fly by you.
Yeah, that's what amazed me the most. And just the way that, well, first of all, Justin had to qualify enough. He was like, dude, it's split 8 of 35. So, I mean, that's a pretty high split in the top, third or top 25% of all 35 splits. So of course that helps that he's in a higher split where there's more respectful drivers generally, especially when they're around the LMP and they're in the top 8 split. So, I mean, but it was just amazing to me how fast they came up. And I don't know if you guys have your spotter turned on or off, but the guy was like, car left, car right, like, or clear, car right, car clear. It was in and out. Like, you had no time you really had to look at your relatives and anticipate it. You couldn't rely on the spotter because before she got, or he or whatever, voice is in his ear. I mean, you were clear before she even got the first words out. So, car right out. So I just have a lot of respect for anybody that does it, and for Jason to pull it off that whole race, listening to him go by like that and managing his fuel just right. He was in the lead during some pit cycles, so I was hoping that somebody else was going to mess up their fuel and he would get first. But I was really happy to see Justin do so well.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's tough. I don't. I one of the things with road racing for me is just that I struggle with personally is consistency. So seeing him like finish second like that, that's pretty great.
Yeah. And if any of our fellow racers that participate in in our league or are interested in the league, if you guys run in Daytona 24 or any of these special events, feel free to post to one of our social media, Midwest Motorsports social media pages, whether through Twitter or Facebook. Post a picture, your guys' result, and we can throw it up on the future podcast episodes and highlight your guys' races.
That's a great idea, and we should definitely do that. And Dustin does a good job running the socials. Dustin Reinstedel also on the Discord in the text channels category. There's an iRacing special events thread that has some Daytona 24, GT3, GTP. Looking for teammates and just a list of the iRacing special events. So get your fellow Midwest Motorsports racers involved on the text channels section. iRacing special events is the text thread.
All right. Okay, so this is going to lead us into our guest segment. As you guys know, if you have heard this man's voice over the cooldown lap so far, and if you have heard him over the races, this is the one and only number 4, Jason Huffman, joining us tonight. Jason, if you'd like to do a quick introduction kind of on how long you've been with the league and some of the different series you've participated in over your tenure in this league.
Sure. I am probably the longest running vet that's not an admin in the league. I've joined this probably right near the tail end of season 1 when you guys were running the the 2008 Silverados, whatever the free truck is.
The legacy trucks.
Yeah, the legacy truck. Oh man, I did my very first race. I joined you guys. I think there was only probably like 7 or 8, and it was at Southern National. That little, what was it, like a 4.75 mile bull ring or whatever.
Yeah.
Man, that was like crazy because there was no setup for the truck, and it just felt like those trucks have no downforce. So it was as soon as you tried to get back on the gas, it just wanted to fishtail. I think everybody fishtailed at least or spun out. I don't know how many times.
Yeah, those are rough days. I remember those.
But yeah, I mainly Cup is where I pretty much run 99% of the time. I've been on and off with Xfinity. I did part-time last year. I did full-time the previous year, and I was doing full-time this year, but my holiday schedule kind of got crazy, so I haven't been able to run as consistently as I did. And then I ran a little bit of the 87 that one time we did the off weekend 87. I did a couple of those races.
Yeah, that would have been last season, I believe. We introduced the 87 off week series.
Yeah, I like those cars too. I could see why we didn't do it because it didn't seem like we got a lot of participation, but I really liked running those cars.
Oh man, those cars are a handful.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. James, you got anything for Jason here?
I just wanted to be nosy. So, Jason, I looked you up. Your career stats with Midwest Motorsports. Are you ready?
Sure.
All right. First race, October 3rd, 2021. Last race was this past week, January 14th.
Oh, geez.
111 starts. That's pretty amazing. 10 wins, 6 poles, 56 top fives. So of 111 starts, over half of them have been top fives. Average start about 6th, average finish of almost 7th. Laps led 1,497. You want to know your IPL for your career?
So my IPL?
Yes, incidents per lap over your career, over your 3-year career here at Midwest Motorsports. What do you think it is?
Well, it was pretty good until the start of this season.
Oh,
I don't know. I hope it's under 0.1.
If it's over 0.12, he's getting a
right,
drive-through.
EOL. That's right. No, it's pretty good, man. 0.063
Nice.
incidents per lap over your 3-year career, 111 starts, laps completed, 12,000 incidents per lap, 0.06. So I just wanted to take you down history lane there for a minute, man. We're glad you have it. I just wanted to ask you.
You forgot one important stat.
Okay,
Yeah.
listen.
Oh, I know it. I know it.
What? Go ahead, say it.
How many
One
times did you beat
championship.
Taylor?
Yeah, one championship.
Championship. Okay, where's it
Season
at?
3.
All right, start. See, I'm looking for it.
Yep, season 3, he won the championship. I remember that. It was a good season.
That was a crazy season. I think I beat
Yeah.
Eric by like 2 points or something.
Yeah, it was. I don't think you went into that with an advantage either. I think you actually had to actually scrap for that, didn't you?
Yeah, like so I guess I could give like a little bit of a history about
Yes.
so like season 2 when we ran the Gen 6. This was like kind of I was probably like had started really sim racing before then, like maybe like a few months. I'd say probably like 7 or 8 months. So like this was like the first league where I really started to like put time in. And then when I ran the full season 2, like it's my first time being in a league and stuff, I was like I felt like I was just woefully unprepared compared to like everybody. Like would stay in the top 10 a lot of times, but like I remember that season I didn't get like my first top 5 till like well into the playoffs, and it was like at Daytona or something like that. So then like after the end of the season, I think I finished all right in the points just because I was like consistent. But like I told myself I was like I need to be better than this. Like I want to be faster than this. I feel like I could be faster than this. So like I really like grinded my butt off as far as like practicing like oval racing and all that. So like going into season 3, I felt like really good. Like when we went to the next gen and like pretty much the entire regular season, I was like consistently fast. I was like I had like a couple poles. I want to say I like led a bunch of laps, but I couldn't like win. But then when the chase started, I think the first race was like Talladega, and I was up front pretty much the whole time, and that's when I got my like very first win in the league. And that kind of like set up the rest of the playoffs. It put me in like a great spot because I got like a bunch of stage wins. And I think it was like a 5 race season, right?
Mhm.
Like I can't remember. Like I think it was Bristol and Road America, and I got like I think Bristol was the only like kind of mulligan I had because I got caught up in like a wreck and I didn't finish very well. But I managed to like get a decent finish at Road America with stage points. So like I knew the last 2 races, it was Iowa and Old Atlanta, and I didn't even like expect it. But like going into Iowa, like I think I started on pole, or not, or no, I don't even think I started on pole. But like I got up front and I was able to win both stages and win the race, and that like set me up where I had like this outside shot of catching Eric. So I was able to start on pole that race, and I was able to get the 2 stages and then one, and then like I forget, like it was so close because I think Eric missed out on stage points at one point, so like it gave me the edge because it was like basically between me and him because he was like so consistent all season, and I think he like was the regular season champion. But that was fun. And then like I remember like the second or the other season after that, it was a bit of a down because I wasn't actually putting in as much time. Kind of transferred into the beginning of this season.
Yeah, you had the championship hangover going into the next season.
Yeah, a little bit. I think I got a win or something, but yeah, it was rough.
Yeah. So I guess the age old question that every guest gets asked: what made you hop into sim racing?
It was kind of on a lark, really. Like I think it was like a lot of guys around my time. It was more of like the pandemic kind of kicked it into gear, right? When everyone was quarantined. I,
Hmm.
I played a little bit of like sim race. Like I played a lot of like Gran Turismo on my PS2 and PS3, and then me and a couple of my friends were really into project cars, so we did that a lot. And then what really gave me the itch was we were doing it one time when we did the ovals. I think that game only had like Daytona and then like maybe Indy or something like that. And I was like, this doesn't like there's definitely something off about this. Like this does not feel like how it should, like when I watch NASCAR or any oval racing. So, and I'd always debated like wanting to do iRacing, but like the cost kind of intimidated me at first. So I didn't have anything to do, so I just like pulled the trigger on it, and my one friend came with me, and that's when I really got into like it, like oh man, this is what oval racing's like. Like actually, this is so much awesome. Like I tried to do a little bit of like the road, but like the oval is what really like pulled me in initially.
Yeah, I can get that. I think everybody that kind of grew up playing Gran Turismo or any of those racy games, like I think for me it was like the NASCAR. Uh, was it 98 maybe? And then any of the NASCAR games after 2000, I was pretty much hooked on, and it just kind of gets you into racing and such, and
Yeah,
friends is one thing that really pulls you into this.
yeah, it's funny. And then like I'm kind of like the only one that still does it, and I don't really like driving officials as much as I used to. Just more like my hobbies kind of wane and wax or whatever. But I still like to like run the league because it's so consistent, and being able to run with people like you're familiar with week in and week out like motivates you to want to do it more.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of the league, do you have any helpful advice? Seeing as how you've been here for what, going on almost 3 years now, do you have any helpful advice for any new members or any members that are completing their first season here in Midwest? Any advice for them?
Uh, the first word that would come to my mind is patience. Don't expect to just come in here and light the world on fire and dominate. Or if you don't be mad that you're not like the fastest guy every time we hit the track. I was not even close to that. But like if you stick with it and you just gut it out and just work on improving your discipline, you'll it'll the reward will pay off as far as like like competitive racing, clean racing, stuff like that. I think the big thing is like from what I've seen when we have new members join, if the moment they have like a bad time that happens in the race, they just want to get out. And that's just shortening your experience way too much, and you're not doing yourself a favor by just sticking with it.
Yeah, of course, of course. And you did touch on something very important there, patience. You see it all too often when new people hop into the league. They don't have that familiarity with who they're racing with. They go out there and they just throw it into a corner, bang a door, and they don't think about it. Next week, you see that same guy going into that corner. I'm definitely going to remember that door bang, and I'm going to know, I'm just going to squeeze you a little. It's going to happen. But um, the nice thing is, Huffman, like I said, you've been here 3 years essentially, so I know how you're going to race. I know in the corners you can hold your line and such. That's the one thing I love about league racing as opposed to officials is you get a good understanding of who you're racing with and how you can race them.
Right. And like that's kind of why I wouldn't say I gave up on racing officials. I just haven't had the motivation to really do the grind for my I rating or anything like that. It got kind of tiring, especially because like I used to like really run NIS because I liked running like big long races with like fuel strategy and stuff like that, and it would just turn into a S show with like caution after caution after caution. But and then like you're obviously just getting thrown into a group of almost random people. Like there's some consistency, but not nearly as much as like a league where like, oh hey, I'm starting right behind Anthony. I know what he's going to do on the start or how he's going to enter the corner and stuff.
Mm-hmm. James, you got anything else for Jason?
Yeah. I've been joining Aaron Holroyd on the Cup commentary after about halfway through this season. So, I mean, you've had a couple of good runs, especially Michigan. I thought it was really cool to hear Aaron call you to the line there. And the season looks pretty good. You had a good run, a good finish at Kansas last week. So, what are you looking at for this season?
Well, I had to look at the schedule, and I just want to like try to like probably knock off like another win or two. I think I have some good opportunities coming up, especially in the playoffs. I think some of my better tracks are there. Like I'm really looking forward to Nashville. I always tend to be very competitive there. Plate races, I like to think I do well at those, but they can be a crapshoot depending on how they go. I really like Darlington, and we run Phoenix so many times. I feel like I'm just accustomed to that track.
Yeah. And that end of the season schedule, it looks like it's going to be interesting. I'm happy to see Pocono making a return. I want to see how these next gen cars do there, and
Yeah, for sure.
see how this all wraps up.
I enjoy Pocono a lot, so
Oh yeah,
I haven't done it in the next gen yet, but I really liked it in the Xfinity and it was all right in the Gen 6.
yeah. So Jason, if you'd like to, you can hang out with us as we go through the rest of this show here and pitch in where you'd like to.
Yeah, no problem, man.
All right.
Awesome.
So we're gonna head on to the Truck Series, which was at Kansas Speedway this weekend. Looks like Ty Williams won that race. I personally didn't get to watch much of the race, if maybe a handful of laps. It's been a crazy weekend for me. However, we do have the guy who commentated on the race. James, you got anything that really stuck out in the Kansas race?
Yeah, it was great. It was really cool to see some long green flag runs. Um, and, it just came down to the very end and a little bit of pit strategy as well. Ty Williams got his first win. I'm sorry. I think that was his second win. Yeah, he went back to back, right? He won Sunday. He won the Cup race the week before, and then he
Yep.
wins the truck race.
That's his first truck win, right?
Friday. Yep, and his first truck win. He's real excited about it. It was cool to talk to him after the race. The interview went kind of long again, but yeah, he had a great time. Let's see.
I got to watch a bit of it. It was pretty entertaining. Like I was expecting Ty to eventually win. Like it just seemed like every week he'd be hovering around the top 5, and he would just be consistently fast and closing in. And it's nice to see him do that. The race was crazy. Like the restarts were just like it felt like a pack race, and then once like the tires started to wear in, there was a little bit of separation. But the restarts, like every time, just I was expecting a big wreck every time, especially after the what was it, lap 1?
Yeah, they had a wreck on lap 2. Kind of just shake the cobwebs off. And then they got rolling. And we went all the way pretty much. There were one or two cautions. A couple guys cut the grass. There was one or two big wrecks. I remember the 78, I think, got into it with the 90, and they went around a couple of times. Yeah, and then, Dustin Reinstedt's really hard to beat. He's always going to find the front. He went from the back to the front. Mike Todd was his first pole position, and it was good to see him running up front too. Justin Thaler couldn't catch a break. There was just a lot of action. You really had to watch the Twitch stream over to catch all of the racing that went on. But yeah, a lot of the guys, there were some comers and goers. I'll give another shout out to Aaron Holroyd. He was running up front for a while and came home 8th, looking at the thing, and he was running in the top 3 or 4 there for a while too. So good to finally turn the tables and put the camera on Aaron while he's driving instead of being behind the mic.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't complain about the race at all. I think the truck drivers did a really good job.
That's good.
They've been getting better and better as I've watched through the season. Like it was pretty rough last year watching some of the races, but you could tell because like obviously it's like a lower skill level in general compared to like Cup and Xfinity. But it seems like the guys have been getting a lot better, and we've brought in some new guys who are pretty talented. So they've been pretty interesting to watch this year.
Yeah, for sure.
24 trucks at Kansas. So yeah, it's a pretty big field, and we'd love to see the participation from everybody. Once again, 24 trucks. I mean, yeah, it was a great race. Full field.
I feel like they're finally starting to mesh at this point in the season where they're starting to learn their tendencies. So it should lead to great racing into the championship run here.
Yeah, it's halfway through with 11 races down and 11 to go. So that means the playoffs are coming up soon. I'll give it a little rundown of the points, if that's all right, if we got time for it. Eric Thaler is leading the points. Dustin Reinstedel, 22 behind him. So pretty big lead for Eric. Not surprised. There we go. Thanks for throwing that up on the screen.
You're welcome.
And Justin Thaler's third, Brandon Thayer fourth, Sean Appick fifth, and tied with Albert Williams, I think, right?
It looks like there's a 2-point difference there.
Yeah, really close. Mike Samia seventh, Mike Todd, who was on the pole again, eighth. Norm Snyder, man, I gotta give a shout out to Norm too. He was running great and he gets caught up in something that wasn't even his own fault, or I think he went down, caught the apron with his left front and ended up coming up, and that's what ruined his race. But Norm's been with us for a long time, and I'm still hoping for a W for Norm before this season's out.
I mean, I tell you, he's a grinder. I love Norm. I didn't really get familiar with him until last year or last season. I don't know if I want to divert with like a funny story, but we were running like when we ran the very first time at New Atlanta. I forget, like I started kind of somewhere in the middle of the pack, and we were coming off a 2, and I think he like didn't hear a spotter or something, so he tried to clear himself right on me, and he just like completely took me out and like me in like a big hole at the start of the stage, and I was like super mad. I was like, "This idiot, he doesn't know what he's doing," and stuff like that. And it kind of like was a wash or whatever after the race, and I was like talking to Justin and messages about it. He's like, "Yeah, just cut him a little bit of a break. He's old," because I didn't know anything about Norman. I didn't know like his situation or anything, and I was like, "Oh, okay, that's fine." But as I've like raced with him throughout like Cup and a little bit of Xfinity, he's entertaining, and he's so consistent. Like it's crazy. Like he's not always the fastest, but he will stay in it.
Yeah, and he's a respectful racer. He if he knows that you're faster than him, he'll concede the line to you and not make it a hassle to get around you. He's a respectful racer, and he's kind of earned that name, the grandfather of Midwest Motorsports.
And it's cool in the chats too. You know, sometimes they'll say, "Oh, I took out the 28. Sorry about that." And it was all me, man. Don't blame yourself. And he's like, "Oh, it's just racing. We had fun." It was close. You know, he just brings up the positive aspects of the sim racing stuff. And even though the guy's apologizing to him, Norm, you know, turns around and makes it, you know, a positive experience for everybody. And I definitely have to respect that too.
It got a chuckle out of me when Dustin posted the Cup screenshots, and one of the big ones was Norm's back end just stuck out there as he got spun around with, I think, Colin. Like,
yeah,
like, oh man, why'd you do Norm like that? That was dirty.
So we're gonna go ahead and bounce to the bonus points for the season. It looks like Dustin has 103 total bonus points. Eric's close there though with 101. But you gotta go ways back there to find third place. 48 points. Albert Williams, give me 39 points, and Justin Thaler with 31. Those bonus points are going to come in handy here in a couple weeks when that championship run starts.
10 races to make up 50 points. Yeah, they definitely got a big head start.
Yeah, you got to start wrecking the 11 every race. Going into Xfinity, looks like speak of the devil, the 11 won the Xfinity race. I didn't get to watch any of that race, but talking with Dustin in the Cup race, it does sound like the Xfinity cars acclimated to the track just a little bit quicker than what the next gen cars did, and it sounded like it was a top heavy race, much like the next gen race that we'll go over here in a few minutes. That top line was just hard to beat, from what I gathered, and Dustin was able to pull out the W in the Xfinity series.
I was
Good.
just going to say I was a little disappointed I couldn't make that race because I love racing the Xfinities on the mile and a half. I'm not normally a rim rider kind of guy. I'm more of a bottom heavy, so I would have liked to have seen if I could have gotten the inside line wrapped around to try to make a challenge, but that was a good job by him. He's fast everywhere in every car.
Mm-hmm. He just can put that practice in and get it stuck down. So points for Xfinity following the Kansas race. Looks like Dustin has the lead. Camilla in second, 68 points behind Dustin. Drew Alvarez in third, 100 points behind Dustin. Apologies. Corbin Fleckenstein in fourth, 110 points behind, and Clarence Prince in fifth, 129 points behind. Again, they got some ground to make up here, heading towards the championship, and it looks like it's not really as close when it comes to the bonus points as what the Truck Series is. There's a 41 point gap here back to second place between Dustin and Michael. So it's going to be an interesting run to the championship. See Albert Williams there kind of creeping into the picture though for second with those bonus points. Being a newcomer, he might be able to shake some things up before we start this run, and maybe give Dustin a run for his money.
Yeah, Michael's no slouch in the Xfinity cars either.
I've raced against Michael. He is a quick dude, and he's a hard racer, a very hard racer. So I guess you can't really take any of the top runners out of this championship race. It's just going to be interesting to see if Dustin can maintain that lead or if somebody can come up and challenge him for that championship.
I was just going to say the top 4 or 5 of those, even Brandon Thayer, they run all 3 oval series. So lots of experience and time on each track as they go to Kansas, the same track all week. So I'm sure that experience with the tire fall off, especially at Kansas, transfers over to the next race.
Mm-hmm. So Dustin also won the Cup Series at Kansas. We're going to touch on this one here for a couple minutes. I felt like the Cup Series race was a top heavy race. That top line just felt like it was the only line, and if you wanted to make a spot, like if you wanted to pass somebody, you really had to get on their bumper and just send it into one of the corners and put on a slide job. That was really the only way to pass somebody unless they hit a wall and slid themselves down, in my opinion. And tires were a premium. If you put tires on, you were cruising. Jason, what'd you get from running that?
Yeah, I was surprised at how top dominant it was. I thought maybe you could at least get a little bit of momentum going on the bottom. I tried it a couple times just to see, but the runoff you got from the top was so great. Like when we run like Homestead, that's usually a pretty top heavy, but I can like make the bottom work at that track. But for whatever reason with Kansas, I don't know if it's just like the banking, but yeah, it was like you had to just stay in line and like hope you could get a big enough run coming off the corner to the guy in front of you with the draft that you could just slide job him, because otherwise it was just, yeah, you were kind of pinned up top and just trying not to scrape the wall pretty much.
True. James?
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, you guys were in the race. I was on the outside looking in. I remember, I think the first stage, you couldn't go all the way to even to the first stage without a splash, right? So if I remember, and even after the first stage, you didn't take tires. You restarted up front with an extra set on the wall. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. I did not take tires after that first stage.
Did you think about that going in? Was that part of the strategy? Or?
No, it was just one of those things where I was thinking, what can I do differently to try and give myself an advantage later in the race. But yeah, after thinking about it, it's kind of null. Going back on it, I should have just thrown the tires on. I wouldn't have lost all that position I did. But live and learn. It's something you learn, and the strategies on these races constantly change. So it wasn't something I had predetermined, though. No.
You still came in fourth. I mean, that's not too shabby. I know there was a green white checkered at the end. Did you come in and put freshies on for that
Yeah,
green white checker? You did.
that was the only thing I guess that I benefited from holding on to those tires was having them for that green white checker.
And you started like ninth or 10th, restarted ninth or 10th, and came all the way up to fourth. So, I mean, I'd say the strategy paid off.
Yeah, and I don't know if the camera caught it. That was some crazy racing because it was myself, Ty Williams, Clarence Prince, I believe, also had a new set of tires. And we were just trying to get ahead of each other, so we were the first person on new tires trying to cut through the pack. I believe we went 4 wide at one point going into one of those corners, and I'm like, we're gonna wreck. And fortunately, Clarence, I think me and Clarence touched a little, and it was enough for us to be like, okay, we need to get away from each other.
Yeah, I saw that behind my window. I was like, I hope there's not another caution because I am screwed if there's another restart.
Yeah, it was great fun to watch it. We saw it in the stream in the distance. Of course, we were having to watch the race up front. But yeah, we saw it. We called it and we kept our eyes on you. We watched you come through the field. It was pretty awesome, man.
Yeah. We'll go ahead and touch on the points for the Cup Series here. So you'll have to forgive me. My 1 point slide for the Cup isn't working correctly, so I'm going to pull up the points real quick for the season. Oh, I had them up and I changed it. So I'll touch on chase points here real quick while I pull up the season points. It looks like Dustin has quite a few chase points. I didn't think he had that many, but 102 chase points compared to Justin at 64, Eric at 62, Albert Williams at 47, and Jason, you got 36 there. And that's a drop off to me. The chase points just it looks like a good bit to overcome. But if anything, I feel like our group can overcome it. At least between Justin, Eric, and Jason. If you can string together a couple wins there, man, I think you can also get up into that fight there for some bonus points.
Yeah, we'll see. I think what kind of hurt me was just all the issues I had like the first half of the season, so I wasn't really getting like any stages or finishing well. So Dustin's been playing it really, the game really well. It seems like every stage he's at least fifth, if not winning the stage. So he's really taking advantage of how the system is rewarding it, and it doesn't help to win, but all the stage points he's been accumulating are really going to pay off once we get to playoffs. I just gotta be a little bit better about being consistent throughout the race.
For sure. Yeah, I need to work on that myself. So I do have the points pulled up here. It looks like Justin is in first place for the total season points with 438. Dustin is slowly creeping in on him, 6 points behind him. Eric Thaler dropped 2 places from Kansas. He's 9 points behind the lead. I'm 71 points behind. That's how big the discrepancy is between fourth and third place right now. That's a 62-point difference. So I really need to get my stuff together. Norm pulling home. He's in fifth right now in the season standings. We talk about the guy being a courteous driver and everything. He sneaks into the top 5 in season points. That just shows you perseverance and patience, guys. It'll get you up there.
Gotta finish the races. It matters.
Exactly. So we're going to go ahead and pop into the Road Series, which was out at Nürburgring. It was the combined track. So you would run in the 24-hour layout. That is a fun track. A lot of people hate it because of the length of it. I feel like once you get a little bit of a rhythm going, it's a challenging and fun track. James, how'd that race shake out?
15.7 miles, 170 turns. Yeah, it was an amazing race, but it gives you an idea of the track. It was absolutely incredible race. Max Bauer followed Jason Phillips through the first couple of laps all the way up to the pit stop. It's a 60-minute race. We know that. So about 30 minutes. They had to come in at lap 4. They figured out ahead of time that you could do 7 laps in that time frame, almost a 9-minute lap time. So trying to figure out your fuel and everything. Jason Phillips ran out of gas while leading coming into the pits. So he had to basically coast into the pit lane to get his fuel and then restart. Ended up with like a 10 or 15 second stop longer than as far as coming down pit road, getting the stop, and then getting out. So Max Bauer checked out after that. One of the AM drivers, Michael Odell, hung with him the whole time, all the way up to the pit stop. And after that, Michael Odell was pretty much by himself. He was trying to hang with the pros, then got one corner wrong, backed it into a barrier, which is really a high risk because with such a long track, to go back to the pits for a fast repair, you got a 10-minute flat tow to get back to the pits. So there were 3 meatballs that ruined 3 different guys' race. David Wortman, Adam Sondag, and Brett Storm all got meatballs and had to wait 10 minutes before they could get back on track again. So anyway, yeah, it was great. Max Bauer checked out, won the pros. Michael Odell won the AM division. It was great. They're going to Brands Hatch next for a sprint feature race. So they'll invert to get points for, they'll qualify, then do the sprint race, get points for the sprint race. Then the top 10 will invert and go for full points. After that, Brands Hatch. So I'm looking at the standings for the pros. Max Bauer is running away with it, almost 600 points ahead of Jason Phillips. They do have 2 drops, so it's kind of hard to know exactly what's up. We're after, I think, 17 of 20. So race 18, then we'll start counting the drops and have a better idea of the points. But Steve Hansel is still in there in third in the points. Justin Thaler's 5th. Brian Coxon 6th. Francis Faustino 7th. Shay McNeely 8th, and Adrian Fedorowski right in front of his brother Justin for 10th and 11th. So that's the pros, and then the AMs. I just lost them.
And I have to touch real quick on the brother competition there.
Yeah, please.
That's gotta be a good feeling to just be like, I'm right ahead of you. You can always just kind of throw that right back at them.
Bragging rights at Christmas and Thanksgiving and birthday parties. I'm sure it's.
Yeah, believe it or not, back when we ran the legacy trucks, I'm going to go right back to that. I had my brother running this league for a short period of time. I would say it was fun being able to debrief about the races and such afterwards with him and kind of go through what I was seeing and everything. He just couldn't stick with it. So kudos to the brothers in this league, whichever brother combination you got. That's always cool, and it's great. You guys can have them conversations between each other on how you run races and kind of how you set up yourselves in corners and such. So sorry, James, go ahead. Back to what you're.
No, I love it. I love the family aspect, and not to mention the two brothers of Midwest Motorsports, Eric and Justin Thaler. We definitely miss them tonight. I hope everything's all right. We look forward to having them back next week. But they want bragging rights when it comes down to it. And even Chris gets in there with some cup action. Try not to get in the middle of his boys.
Yeah.
On Sundays.
He's got to watch where he puts the nose of that car, or else it affects Easter, Thanksgiving, Christmas dinner.
Be wary of those family functions.
Right?
Yeah. All right, James, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, real quickly, just want to go over the points on the road series for the AM guys. Sam Hubbard missed the Nürburgring Nordschleife, although he did send somebody with the same paint job and confused us, Ian Bakaitis. So hopefully we'll get Sam Hubbard, back in next week at Brands Hatch. He's still leading the points, even though he missed it, even without the drop. David Wortman second. He was one of the guys that had a meatball and had to go back to the pits. But look out for Michael Odell in third, Justin Glockner fourth, Taylor Montague fifth, Dan Gish sixth, and Christopher Hopper, last week's cool down lap guest, still seventh. He gained a spot over Dustin, who disconnected at Nordschleife and didn't get a lot of points. Eighth, ninth is Keith Hurlbut. 10th is Andrew Miller. Lots of points in between them, but again, it's kind of hard to tell without the drop races counting. So looking forward to Brands Hatch next week. And I hope you join us on Tuesday night, 7 p.m.
Yeah, and for anybody wondering where you can watch the races, of course, this Twitch stream will broadcast them again every Tuesday night. We have commentary. Friday night's commentary. Saturday night is just the race, and Sunday night we also have commentary as well. And then I'd say a handful of days after the races are ran, we have YouTube videos up under our Midwest Motorsports iRacing page. Along with that, Cup, Xfinity, and trucks are off to the Charlotte Roval next week. It's going to be some fun racing. We'll see how everything shakes out, and we'll see everybody here again next Monday, 9 o'clock Eastern time, to get this all taken care of again. Jason, I'd like to thank you for coming out tonight and sitting in with us while Justin and Eric are taking care of things they need to take care of, and you're always welcome to make yourself known in this league if you'd like to on a cool down lap, or if you want to pop in during races and just kind of shed some of that knowledge you've gained over the last 3 years here.
Oh yeah, all good, man. I always like chatting with you guys, like talking about the racing and stuff. I'm assuming Justin was probably scared to be between you and me in the broadcast tonight, and that's why he's not here. That's my theory.
Oh man, yeah. After the racing last night, he probably just needed to calm down a bit, and just couldn't handle himself with us two in the booth. But
I was like ribbing him about that.
Yeah.
Jason, it's been a lot of fun calling you on the races and, just all the stuff that you do for us at Midwest Motorsports, encouraging everybody and keeping things light and positive, and definitely looking forward to seeing you on the Twitch stream in the future races, man. Thanks again for joining us and for sitting in the whole hour, man.
Yeah, no problem, man. Hopefully we can do some victory interviews too in the next month or so.
Yeah, look forward to it.
All right. Well, until next week, guys, y'all take it easy.
Thanks, Ant. You the
Thank
man.
you.